Hello and welcome to a new tutorial. In this series we are going to be learning how to create a login and registering system. Now it's very simple. All we use is a few classes and it will be perfect. Okay, so we start out with our database. You basically need to have a database so that you can store everything like your users and their info. I remember that there was this one form software, but it's called a PHP nuke or something like that. It was some form software, and it offered some sort of member thing that doesn't rely on MySQL. So if you don't have it, then you should probably, or if you don't have MySQL, you should probably go and check that out. But I really recommend MySQL because it's the best. It's totally easy. It's amazing. So to manage my databases, I am using PHP and I made a database called _tutorial. You can make anything that you want, but for this I'm using tutorial. Okay, so now we need to create a table. We'll create one called users. And I don't know how many fields we'll have. One for ID, one for name, one for email, stuff like that. I'll just do 4. Okay, so we need our ID. This is essential. We'll give it auto increment. And then we're going to have username, var character, and we'll just do 225. And then password, which is a var character, and it'll be 32 length of 32. I'll explain why we choose 32 later. And then email, in case we want to email them anything. And let's save this. Perfect. Okay, so now let's go into our script, and we're going to create a file called session.php. This will be like the hub of all of our actions. Our forms will be sent to a file called process.php, which will then process the form and choose an action from session.php. Now, I'm not going to create all the classes or all the functions and stuff right now, but I'm just going to create the basic template of the class that we're going to use. Okay, so let's make this class, and we're going to start with our tags. And we're just going to say class session, and then under here, session equals new session. There we go, we have our basic class set up, and now we can access functions really easily outside of this session file. Let's create a little function, and I'll explain how you use it. Basically all we need to do is go like session hi. That is all. So if you include session into any of your other files, all you would have to do is say session and then whatever function you would need. It makes programming very easy. That's F5, go to here. Oops. Screwed up somewhere. Or not supposed to be there. Sorry about that. And there we go, that's pretty much it. So in our next tutorials, and the future ones, we're going to start first with registering. We're going to insert our stuff into our database, and I'm also going to explain about the password, how the password's going to work. After that we're going to do logins, then cookies, and so on and so forth. Hope to see you again soon. Hello, I am here for a sort of long tutorial about creating a CMS. A CMS is a content management system much like the one that cPanel has, File Manager. A content management system allows you to edit, delete, view, create, upload files to a directory. Okay, so let's get started. We need an index file. Let's open this up. And let's open up our tags. Okay, so our index file will handle our warnings, such as like you cannot delete that file or error or stuff like that. It will also print our contents in a directory and display links to edit them and delete them and such like that. Okay, so let's get started. Let's make something called dir, which is our directory that we're going to open. In this case, it's going to be data. Actually, open dir and then let's create a while loop to get the entry names of everything from that directory. Now basically what this does is it will add entry name to our directory for every entry name. And now since we do not need the directory or the open dir anymore, we can close it. It is important that you close everything that you open. Now let's count everything in our array. This can be used so that we know how many files we have, or we could display like you have 18 files. Okay, we could do this by and we'll print at our top we'll display our index count files in our directory. I'll just do that. Okay, now let's sort our array. And let's print it off. And then, okay, now we opened up our table because we're going to display everything in a table. We do this just for the sake of visibility and neatness. Now we're going to loop through our array and print one row for each array, or each value we have in our array. There we go. And we are not going to list hidden files using this. There we go, and now we could finally print our stuff. And this might take a while, so I'll pause it and resume once I'm done. Okay, so now that we're done, we can test it out. Oh wait, first I need to create the directory of data. And then we also need to create some files. Oops. And let's also put some stuff in it. Now we can go to our directory, enter. Oops, it seems that we have a problem already. Don't care about you. Unexpected curly bracket on line 19. I forgot to close one of these things. Sorry about that. Now, seem to have a problem with file size. I remember having this problem before. It's probably just my computer, or not my computer, my server, or PHP, and I never really looked into it, but do not care to look into it. So I'll just take that part out. You can leave it in if you want. And file type seems to not work either. Crap. Oh well. We do not need that either. Okay. So now we have our files, and the links go to the files. Actually, no, they do not so far. We need to add data slash. Save that. Perfect. Now let's add some extra links. Including TD. We need one for edit file, one for view file, and one for delete file. Edit. And actually, they could just click it to view it. Edit. Delete. And the way our deletion process is going to work is we're going to use git to retrieve the file that we want to delete, and then it will delete that file for us. just like that. Crap, I accidentally put it on the wrong table. There we go. Yeah, okay. And we also will do the same method for edit, where it just goes to the edit file place and it will get the file that's supposed to edit from the URL, or from get edit.php file listed right. Perfect. There we go. And of course we don't have our deletion set up, but we'll do that right now. Now the method in this is very unsecure, so basically if anyone has access to this file other than you or know about it, and they understand basic Git and they could edit the URL, then you're probably going to be screwed, because then they could delete any file on your server. So I recommend, if you have maybe a user login system, that you make sure that the files are in that user's directory, that they could only delete it from there. It's just a little warning, because what we're going to be doing basically just deletes the file. You know, you could totally screw up your whole server doing this. Okay, so we're going to get our file, f equals _get file, and if file _exist f. And remember how I said the index will be displaying our warnings, or at least I said that. If I didn't, then index will display our warnings. Then we're going to redirect to our index file and give it a get value so that it will display our warning. We redirect using the header function, and we do location equals index.php slash error equals file does not exist. There we go. And if our file does exist, then we can continue to delete it. Now first we should chmod it f2 0777. This makes it so that we'll be able to delete it. And actually, on some servers, 0777 is disabled. So if it is, then do 555, or at the 55 at the end, 0755. And then unlink will be deleting our file. And we'll also make a variable called results equals unlink. If results equals true, then that means the unlink was successful, else. And if the unlink was unsuccessful, then we will say that the deletion did not work. Else we can go back to our index and say that the file was deleted. go. We can save this. Now let's try to delete a file. First, let's make sure that our file is going to the right place, and we can already see that it is not. It is going to file equals foobar.txt when it's supposed to be going to data/foobar.txt. All we need to do is edit our file for that. Actually, this is not the right file. Where's that? Is this it? Yes, it is. Data slash close that, F5, and click. Not found. Data slash, oops, looks like I made another problem. Edited the wrong thing. Save changes, close out, 5, oops. There we go. And it looks like our file has been deleted, and we can also see that our error says it has been deleted. Of course, we have not set anything up to tell us what happens when there's an error, but as you can see already that our file has been deleted through our display. And if we go into our folder, we can see that it is now gone. Oops, crap. Okay. That is it for part 1. View part 2 next. And that is in part 2 we are going to learn about editing the file, setting up our errors, and uploading and stuff like that. Hello and welcome back. In our last tutorial we were learning about how to create a content management service. Basically we got as far as to list our files in our directory and then delete our files. Now we're going to learn how to edit our files. Let's create a file called edit.php. Let's open this up. Okay, we're going to use file equals underscore get file. We're going to send the file location to this file, and then this file or edit will open up the file and we can start editing it. First we check that if the file exists. There we go. So if it does not exist, then we go back to our index. Okay. And let's also chmod our file to 0755. And we suppress the error warning or warnings on this because we do not really care if it fails, because if it fails then we still might be able to open it up and read it. Okay, and also we're going to put our code, since edit is one little, actually never mind about that. We now need to read our file, so we do that with fopen. And then we use R for read. this is right. Wait, no, it's not. Then at the end we close our fopen with fclose fp. There we go. Now we make our little form. Method equals post action equals server PHP underscore self. There we go. And I already pre-wrote some stuff because I'm not going to go through writing the form because it'll take forever. There we go. Now basically a text area is a text box, but whatever you put in between the tags will show up. In this case we use PHP to echo out our file contents, which we got, so that you can see what the file contains. Now we need to do something when our form is posted here, and we want to do something before we open up our file. So we'll put it right under our chmod. We'll do if underscore post for save file from our button. And we need to use fopen again to write to our file. Where were we? Just had to pause for a moment. So now we fopen our file with the write permissions. And if we successfully opened it, then we can write it, else we can display an error. There was an error saving our file. There we go. Okay, so now we use fwrite to write to our file using fp and our save content. And then we fclose fp. Then we also die again to so then we don't show our form again. File saved. Okay, let's make sure this is running. And I'm pretty sure there's nothing in foobar. Save. Seems to be an error. Let's check it. let's try this again. Perfect, it works now. And that is basically all. Thanks for watching. That will be the end of our tutorial. And of course, this is not really complete, but of course, that is basically the basics of a content management system. So that is all. Of course, you will have to end the links at our end here to make them return. But other than that, you are good to go. Thanks for watching. Hello and welcome back. We were just now learning about Git. Now we are learning about Post. Post basically makes it much more secure for your site. Normally, the normal method for form to send the variables is over the URL. I'll add this little question mark, our URL, or our variable, and then the variable's value. Now, of course, this can be easily modified. So if you're sending precious information or stuff that you don't want accessed by the user, then you would use post. So it now says hello hackers. Now we use post by doing this. Under our form tags, we do method equals post. This basically turns into a post. And basically we switch Git to post. That is all there is to it. Personally, I use post for just about everything. And I mean everything. Git is sort of useless now. You can see that this little thing doesn't do anything now because we're not checking for it. We're not using it. Now we can do something like Sean, submit, and you can see that it still has the same result, but our user cannot access it in the URL. Now, one tool built into stuff like Chrome and Opera is the inspector element. Now, this is a tool that basically lets you modify the current information of the page. Like I can right click, inspect element, and I could change this live. Oops. Just like that. So I'm able to change the name of this to something random. Therefore, when I submit, even if I put some text in there, it won't show up because we are looking for the wrong thing. Some people create a hidden value. Here's a hidden value. Input type equals hidden. Name equals hide, value equals secret info. Now we don't want the user to be accessing this secret information, but of course it's right out in the open because of our inspect element. On the secret info is you have been hacked. That's bad. One way to battle this is to only allow the variables that you assign. So that means if you have something called like do, which is what you want your script to do, such as register or login, then only allow the variables register or login. Otherwise, completely ignore it. Don't use it, unset it, stuff like that. That is all. Thanks for watching. Forms is amazing. That's all. Hello and welcome again. I'm here with another tutorial in PHP. In today's tutorial we are going to be learning about Windows Forms, or not Windows Forms, sorry. We're going to be learning about forms, basic HTML forms. Now, let's get started. This is actually going to be part 1 of 3 videos on Windows Forms. The first one's going to be the basic HTML layout, second one's going to be using Git, and the third's going to be using Post. Let's start out by creating our HTML form. I'm not going to write up the whole HTML, I'm just going to write up the part for our form. Okay, form. This basically opens up our form. It's the HTML tag for form. We need this, by the way. Action. This is where all of our variables are going to be sent. In this case, we are going to send it to forms.php, our same exact file. So we could just have it be forms.php, or we'll just do forms.php. And let's close it down here. And let's have some text. And then input. Input is basically where whatever the user interface uses. It could be a radio box, a drop-down box, a text box, anything like that. But in this case, we're using input type equals text, which is a text box. And we also need to give it a name. This is what I call the ID, which is basically what we will be looking for in our PHP. It's like the variable name of it. Name will equal name. Yeah, name. Then let's have a little submit button where input type equals submit. Submit enters the form and sends the variables to our forms.php. Now let's save this. F5. And we can see that we have a little form. It has name, we have a text box, and then we can press submit. Of course it does nothing right now because we didn't do anything, but you can see up here in the URL that it has some variables, and it has the variable that we typed into our namespace. I'll talk about that later in the Git tutorial. That is basically all for right now. Check out the Post or Git tutorial to learn more about forms and how you handle them. Hello and welcome to part 2 of forms. Right now we are going to be using Git to retrieve our variables. So before we show our form here, since we're sending the variables to our same file where the form is, we are going to have to check for the variables to see if the form has been submitted before. We do this by just choosing a random variable and we retrieve it. Git works like this. You open it like any normal variable, but you do $_get, and it's basically like an array. If you've seen the array tutorials, open up your brackets, choose the name of the variable you're trying to access, which is in this case name. We need to assign this to a variable. Name equals get name. Perfect. And here's a little tool or function. If is set name. Basically this checks if name has been assigned before. If it has, then it means that our user has submitted the form, therefore assigning a name to name. Now I don't want this form to display twice, so I'm going to use a die. And from die we can echo out stuff like a little error message, but in this case I'm just going to use it to say hello. just like that. Name will equal Sean, and then it'll say hello Sean. That is all for the Get tutorial. See the Post tutorial to learn how you can securitize your forms more. Hello and welcome. In today's video we are going to be learning about operators. Operators are used to change values of variables, and they are used for comparing variables. Let's get started with some basic arithmetic operators. The first one we're going to learn is the basic adding and subtracting. We have these two variables, x and y, and adding is very simple. It's just our first variable plus our second variable. Oops. We can see that this outputs 10 because 5 plus 5 is 10. We could also subtract. Which is 0, because 5 minus 5 is 0. We can go on and on, but there's also multiplication and division remainder. It's called modulus, not dollars. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. There's also increment and decrement. Increment is basically plus 1, just like that. It's the same as doing plus 1. Now let's look at some assignment operators. These are used in if-else. If x is equal, or actually, this is wrong. Assignment operators changes the value of a variable. So x equals y, that means x will, or z will equal y. Now, we can also do plus equals, which is where it takes this and adds this to it. So it's basically z equals z plus y. We also can use subtract equals. That works too. We can also do multiplication equals, division, and division remainder. Now comparison operators. These are the ones that are used in if-else. If x is equal to y, echo equal. These two equal signs are for comparison. It does not turn x into y. It compares the two. It will return true if this is equal to that, but it will return false if it's not. We can also have an exclamation point, which an exclamation stands for not. So it's basically not equal to. So if x is not equal to y, then display they are not equal. Just like that. We also have is not. This also works as is not equal. This is greater than, less than, is greater than or equal to, or is less than or equal to. All of these comparison operators are fairly simple, and you could pretty much mix and match them as you go. Now we have some logical operators, which is where we can do, if we want to say compare two things, or not two things, if we want to do two comparisons in one if, we can do it just like this. And c is equal to 5. We'll just make it 4. This makes sure that both of these have to be true in order to continue. We also have these 2 lines. I just call them the lines. Don't know their real name, but the 2 lines right above your enter, you have to hold shift to use them. They are OR. So if either this or this are equal, or are true, then it will display our message. And that's pretty much it for operators. Of course, like I said before, you can mix and match some of them, but that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Welcome to another lesson. In this lesson, we will be learning about PHP if-else statements. If-else, there are a few forms of it. They are all very basic. Here we go. Now the first type is one line. It's if, the basic, if, and then we do our comparison here. And this is assuming you have viewed the last lesson, operators, which tells you the basic operators of if-else. If y is equal to x, echo, they are equal. This is all one line, very simple. Save. F5, and you'll see that they are equal. Now that's basic. Now let's learn if-else. We can also just press enter, and we'll have this one line. Else. Just like that. And we will see that it says that they are equal. However, if we change a value, it will turn into they are not equal, because x and y are not the same variables. Now if you want more lines, all you need to do is insert one of those little curly brackets, and then give one for else. Just like that. We can also do if or else if, which is where else if, we could basically have another if here. And then else will be if all else fails. So if this fails and then this fails, then else will be run. Let's make y not equal z, but x, then let's make it equal z. There we go. Y is equal to z. That's because our first if returned a false because y is not equal to z, but then our second if, or our else if, which return true because y is equal to z, and then else they're not equal. That is basically all for if else. If else is a very useful tool. That is all. Thanks for watching. Hello, this is another PHP tutorial, and in this tutorial we are going to learn how to use the switch tool. Switch is an alternative to if, and it's very useful. Normally, if you wanted to check if I were 5 or 6 or 7, you would do something like if I equals 5, and then you would repeat this over and over. But that can be a little bit confusing and long, so there's switch. It's basically switch our variable and our opening curly brackets. And inside here we have what are called case. Case is you basically just say case and then what the variable might be, and then you give what would happen if the variable is that. So case 5 echo I is 5. And then to stop from running after that, once we're done with the code for 5, we break. And then we do case something like 6. We can say echo I is 6. Also, if you want to check if it's nothing, it would be default. We can also do string variables, such as case string and we can also do true or false. Switch is pretty much a very good alternative if you have a long list of variables that you need to check for. Another alternative to using the curly brackets is just to have this switch, and then once you're done, and switch. I don't really like that, but it's just another way. That's basically all there is to switch. It's very easy, and it's a very good alternative. Just, yeah. Hello, it's me again with another tutorial. In this one, we're going to be learning about PHP arrays. Arrays are useful for storing data or variables and making it really small and really easy to access them. Let's take a look at an array. This is a basic array. Now, basically how an array works is how you use it is you have your array, and you insert one of these brackets, you insert the key to the value that you want to access, and you close that, and that will return the value. Arrays are sort of hard to explain. Basically it's like this. You have an array, and it's basically a variable that stores a bunch of variables. I'm just going to explain this really simple, but basically you designate like an ID or whatever you want to call it, and you give that ID a value. You can do this over and over, so you can have something like an array where you have an ID of username, an ID of password, an ID of email, and therefore later on, when you want to access it, you can do something like info email, and it will pull up the value you assigned for that email value, or email variable. So you can change stuff like this, and then our variable, we can also do stuff like strings, x equals 5, whatever we want to have it, and of course we can just echo everything out. We can echo out whatever we want. And that would echo out 5, because we assigned 5 right there, and we echoed out 5, the variable. To delete a variable, all you have to do is unset r, and then our variable name, or we could just do the whole array. That is pretty much it for arrays. Basically, when you declare the variable, you just have to do array, and then our ID, and we do this equals then or greater than sign, which sort of looks like an arrow, and then the value of that ID. So yeah, arrays are very simple. I use them all the time. They're very good, very neat. It's perfect. Thanks for watching. Hello and welcome again. In this tutorial, we are going to be learning about while loops. While loops basically repeat the same function over and over until the variable you're checking for changes. Let's take a look at one, shall we? Let's create a int called I with a value of 0. Let's do while I is less than 5, we will run this script. We'll echo out I and a new line, and then we'll increase I. Now basically what this means is while I is less than 5, then we will run this script. And basically once it hits this, it will basically go back up to here and run it. But since we also have this little I++ here, it will increase our I plus 1, so then after about 5 runs of this, it will stop, because I will no longer be less than 5. Let's run it. And we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, because 0 counts as 5. And basically that is all. One quick warning though, do not put yourself into an infinite loop. While true, something like this, where a value always returns true, will run forever. Let's take a look at that. And it will keep on printing while it's loading. This page will never be done loading. Yeah, that's bad, because our script is still executing. Oh my. We'll just stop that. Okay. That's pretty much all for while. Just a quick little tip, if you're waiting for something like some other function or to change a variable, and there's a chance that the variable change could fail due to some sort of database connection, whatever you're trying to change, I would recommend using I instead of checking for the variable. So I mean, like have it like a number of attempts to check for the variable before it times out, or yeah, you create sort of a little fake timeout script, and so then you don't end up running forever because you are waiting on your function to update a variable, but yet it really won't be updating the variable because it failed the first time. So yeah, that's pretty much all it is for whiles, and hope to see you next time. Hello again, I am here to teach you the for PHP. For is basically like a while loop, only it's much more simple. Let's take a look at one. It starts out like a while loop. You do for, except for it works like this. You declare your variable, you see if the variable is equal to something, or less than, or more than, or more and equals, whatever. And then you do an action every time for is run. So basically, a while loop will have to have a variable out here, and then we'll have to say that variable equals this, and then we'll have to, this part would be in the while loop, and then down here you would have this part. But instead of wasting those 3 lines, or the extra 2 lines, we can use our for, which puts it all into one little line. As we save that, we can see it outputs just like a while loop. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's basically all there is to it. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Hello again. In this tutorial, we are going to be learning about functions. Functions are essential if you are doing a repetitive task over and over. Basically, what it is you can assign some script to a function, and then call a function anywhere in your code, so then it basically runs all that script using only one line. Okay, this is how you make a function. All you have to do is type function, our function name, we'll just call it f, and wrap it up like that, just like that. Okay. Now, inside of our function, we can do anything. We can do anything we can do outside of it. We can echo, we can die, we can access our MySQL database. We can basically do anything. And we run it by calling f right there. Save our changes. F5. And it'll say f has been run. We can also have a return, which basically returns a variable, which is like we can include things like this, where like we say we want to call something with variable, like, man, making this confusing. We want to run f using this string. Oops. So basically, this string right here will be assigned this variable, and then we can use that string anywhere over here, just like that. We can also return, such as return true, or return false, or we could return a string. basically return would work like this. If f string, this would return a true because we have a true here and there's no reason why it should be false. Therefore, it would run the script inside of if. That is basically all for functions. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Welcome to Lesson 1, an intro to PHP. In this tutorial, I will be talking about the basics of PHP, how to get set up, and a couple of extra stuff. So, first of all, you will need PHP, of course, installed on your server. For this tutorial and the next ones, I will be using PHP version 5.2. However, any other version should do just fine. Okay, now in case you didn't know, PHP is one of the best languages to use on your website, and it's used by many major companies like Google and Facebook. But let's get started. First of all, you will need a file editor. I'm using cPanel in this case. That came with my hosting package. However, any other file manager that can create files, directories, and edit the codes will be acceptable. Now, first of all, we need to create a file. I set aside a directory just for our learning. Let's create it, and we'll call it 1 for lesson1.php. Create new file. And we can also open up our code editor. And we can see that we have nothing in it so far because we didn't write anything. Okay, so now if we open up our directory, we can see that we have this one file. And if we open it, you'll see that we have nothing. Now, that's because we haven't produced anything in it. So to open up our tags or tell our engine that we are now using PHP, we do less than question mark PHP and then question mark greater than. Now there is a shorter form of this, which is just like that, or no, just like that, but you need something called short tags enabled. You can find more on your PHP info, but we're just gonna go like this. Okay, so in order to write something out or print it, we do echo, followed by the string that we want to print. Let's do hello world. We also end our lines with a semicolon, just like any other programming language. If we save our changes, go back to the page and press F5, we will see that we now have hello world. But if we view our source, you can see that it's just hello world. This is because PHP is server side. It doesn't, you will not see it in the source because you don't ever see the PHP. Whenever you call the page, your server will run the PHP and PHP will create an HTML file based on the output. It's basic input and output, basics of programming. Another version of echo is print. However, studies have shown that print is indeed somewhat slower than echo, so echo is the main thing used. You may also see that it does not have a new line, but even though we have a new line here. This is because, of course, it prints out the HTML, so all it really sees is this and this. We can make a new line by doing or putting in our HTML code for new line right here. And of course, you can echo out HTML. Just like that. That concludes our tutorial for today. I'll see you next time. I hope you find this useful, but that is all. Thanks for watching. Welcome to tutorial 2, installing XAMPP on your computer. Now XAMPP is basically a tool that you can install on any OS, or most of them. Pretty sure they have one for Windows, one for Linux, and a few for the other types. But basically what it is it makes it so that you can run Apache, MySQL, and PHP on your computer. This is useful for two purposes. The first is developing. Say that you have this amazing idea, but you don't want to invest the money into a web server yet. You can create your idea and test it all, and see if it works, if you can get it to be fully functional, and then you can set up or buy your server. But also, it's to test your scripts if you don't want to waste the space on your web server, even though PHP files are incredibly small. But anyhow, it's just you. Okay, so first of all, you will need to download it. Download it for your OS. I recommend the exe file, or the executable. And once you're done installing, I installed mine on the C drive. It will open up this, and you just choose whatever you want. But once it comes down to the last part, start the XAMPP control panel. I chose yes, and this little panel will pop up. This is where you can run your stuff. And so basically we'll run Apache and we will run MySQL. And from here we have our shell access, setup, port check, explore, CSM or SCM, refresh, help, exit. Explore opens up our file path to the files that we use. And you can like mess around, look around. And htdocs is where we store our stuff, our scripts that we can run on our computer. Now, a lot of people, before they figure out XAMPP, they tend to just save the files to their computer, and they're like, what the heck, it won't run. Now, that's because your computer does not have a PHP compiler built into it. You will need to install one. And personally, I think XAMPP is the best. So now we can, if we go to our local host, just type http://localhost/ and enter, we can see that we come up here. It redirects us to XAMPP, and actually before that you'll get something like this. You choose your language. There we go. Now you can see that we have all this stuff. Of course you could use whatever. You can use 127.0.0.1, but I just like localhost. Now from here we can view our status. Just like that. Our security, documentation, components, PHP info. Actually, we should view this. We have PHP version 5.3. It's perfect. script. Basically all we need to do now is open up our HTC docs, and you could write your PHP script right in here. For instance, that one's right there. I have no idea where it leads to. Let's go. It's just a small little redirect thing. But yeah, that's basically how you install XAMPP. That's how you use it. All you need to do is locate your install location and go to HT docs. And from there you can access it by going to your localhost. And very simple, very easy. Thanks, and I hope to see you again. Hello and welcome to Lesson 3, Learning PHP Syntax. Today we're going to be learning the basic syntax of PHP and stuff such as the opening tags, commenting, stuff like that. So first of all, let's create our PHP file. Actually, this would be 3. And let's open it up in our code editor. Now, the opening tags of PHP are rather simple. It's just the less than mark, question, PHP. That is all. Now, of course, if you have short tags enabled, you can remove the PHP from that, making it a lot shorter. And if you're inserting PHP into HTML, then it will make it a lot shorter for you, which will be easier to read and such and such. But just for this, we're gonna make it like that. And then to end it, we do our question mark and then greater than sign. Okay, so let's start on comments. Now, the regular // creates a line comment, just like this. Comments are not read by the engine, so they're not processed. It doesn't really do anything except for it's for your own benefit of labeling your code. Of course, a lot of people like to name the creator, what it does, stuff like that. It's really useful for if you're selling your PHP scripts. Okay, now that's a regular line comment. Here's a block comment. Slash and asterisk, or star, asterisk, slash. That's basically it. And right in between here, you can have anything and it won't be rendered. Of course, for neatness, I usually insert these. Just looks a lot better, in my opinion. To show that the comments are not rendered, or why do I keep on saying render, sorry, run or executed, we can insert these echo tags. And also put an echo inside of one of our comments. Let's save that. That was comment 1, that was comment 2. As you can see, it ignored our comments. Let's continue on. Most PHP is written in between or inside of HTML code, but a lot of people disagree that, or say that we shouldn't do this, as for it makes sort of a mess. But personally, I don't really care. I'm able to read my own code, and I'm fine with that. We would wrap it in normal HTML tags. Not gonna get all fancy with them. anything out of these PHP marks will be rendered as HTML. Now we can F5, and of course you won't see it because we didn't do anything, but if we view our source we can see that's wrapped in HTML tags. Thank you, that's the lesson for today. We'll see you next time. Welcome to Lesson 4, Variables. Variables are very simple inside of PHP. All we need to do is have the $sign and then a variable name. That's basically all you need to do. Now, variables cannot start with a number. This would be invalid. Variables can start with an underscore, but after the underscore it cannot start with a number. However, it can start with a number score and then some letters. And also, you can have letters and then numbers. To assign a variable, all you need to do is write down your variable, and then equals, and then whatever you want it to equal. Just like that. You can also assign it here when you first declare the variable. And we are also able to use our variables in multiple situations, such as an echo. We put a period in between our string, our main echo string, and the variable. This basically connects the two. Of course, you can also just do echo variable. That works too. Now if we save this and then go to our page, oh yes, of course, our invalid variables are causing some problems. There we go. Now you can see that our first variable is equal to 11, and then since we reassigned our variable, it now equals 10. We can also use the variables in ifs and while, stuff like that. You can echo it out, print it out. So basically, you can do everything with a variable. Also, combining, just a quick little tip, if you're using HTML, let me write up our little tags. We can put our variables inside of parts of our HTML. So if we have a button or text area, I'm not sure if this is right, just guessing right now. We can echo out our variable into, say, text areas. And perfect. Now this is our text area, and you can see that we echoed out our variable into here. We can also have multi-line variables, just like this. Var equals. This is line 1. 2. This is line 3. And that would be valid. Oops. Small problem. Forgot to end it. There we go. And we could also get that out. If you have a problem with the quotation marks, such as you want to store some piece of HTML code, you can change it to a single quotation, and a single quotation can only be ended with another single. So then after you start and end with these singles, no matter how many doubles you have, it won't affect the line. That is basically all for variables. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you next time. That is all. Thanks for watching. Hello and welcome. In this video we're going to be learning about PHP strings. Now this tutorial is for people who have been through the first few videos on how to set up PHP, how to start with it, and a few basic commands. So first of all, you know a variable starts out with the $, and our variable name. Of course, one of the variable types that you can use are strings. This is a string. Let's look at a few things that we can do. First of all, we can convert numbers to strings, and just like this. Just like that. That's basic, but you should have learned that in the variables video. Let's take a look at what we can do with these strings. We can figure out the string length, str length, var. If it's equal, or if it's equal to 0, then we know that the string is nothing. However, there is a faster and better method. If is set var 1 this basically looks for isSet basically checks to see if a variable is set there. But checking to see if var variable is set on the first character, then, or if it's not set. If it doesn't find any characters, or at the first one, then it will know that there's no character there, and there will be no character ahead of that, which means that it's 0, so it's empty. We can remove from a string, very simply, like this. str_replace. Now we choose the word that we want to replace. Then we choose the word that we want to replace it with. And then we choose our target, which is the variable. Variable echo new. Save that and go into here. Strings. Here's our first string. This is a string, and then after our replace, it changed string to string. Only weird. We can also do a few things, such as str to lower bar, which turns everything into lowercase, or to upper, which turns everything into an uppercase. There's also another useful little tool where it stops a hacker from putting in PHP variables or stuff that would ruin or hack your site. Well, it's called strip tags. Basically, it removes HTML and PHP tags from the input. And we didn't have anything out. So that is basic strings. Very easy. Strings are the most used variable ever. There is a lot more to learn. You can go to PHP's website and Google or look up some strings, and they have a full list of all the PHP strings. Remember, these are just a few of the most common. There are a bunch of other ones that will help you in your future projects. Thanks for watching.